This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. President-elect George Bush completed his cabinet today. As first reported by CBS News last night, he named Admiral James Watkins to be Energy Secretary. Mr. Bush also reached back into the ranks of the Reagan cabinet and nominated former Education Secretary William Bennett to the new job of the so-called National Czar for what is supposed to be the war on drugs. All told, few new faces in the Bush cabinet, and some critics insist too many rich, white establishment, middle-aged male faces. CBS News correspondent Deborah Potter begins our coverage of the now completed Bush cabinet team.
Completing his cabinet today, President-elect Bush finally filled two of the toughest jobs in the administration. As Energy Secretary, retired Admiral James Watkins, and in the post of Drug Czar, former Education Secretary William Bennett.
They bring to our administration valuable experience.
Watkins, who headed the Presidential Commission on AIDS, now faces a new crisis, cleaning up the nation's nuclear weapons plants. Today, he tried to allay fears that his background in the nuclear Navy means he'll put production needs first.
Environmental and energy objectives can be made mutually compatible.
Bennett, an outspoken conservative, often drew fire at the Education Department. But today, he promised to work with other agencies in waging war on drugs. And Mr. Bush said he won't be muzzled.
I'm not going to ask him to renounce that vim and that vigor and that determination that made him a howling success in President Reagan's administration.
But some critics are howling that Bennett is a chain smoker who won't set a good example as drug czar.
You will not have a director of national drug control policy who smokes.
So, has he quit?
By the time I'm the national director...
This afternoon, the full Bush cabinet gathered to get its marching orders, a cabinet that's a far cry from the fresh new faces the president-elect promised. More than half served in the Reagan administration. Only 3 can truly be considered Washington outsiders.
Well, this is a cabinet that's long on experience and short on bold new ideas. It's not a cabinet that's going to get anybody in very much trouble.
But the 2 newest members could have trouble solving drastic problems in a time of very tight budgets.
Would it be a lot easier for them if they had unlimited funds to spend? The answer would clearly be yes, but regrettably we're not living in that kind of a time.
But critics say the problems at energy will never be solved and the war against drugs could be lost without a major new infusion of federal funds. Deborah Potter, CBS News, Washington.
Drug czar designate William Bennett starts off with a fresh reminder, as if he needed one, of what he and we are up against. The National League of Cities today named drug trafficking and drug violence problem number 1. 2/3 of the communities surveyed said their drug problem got worse last year. CBS News correspondent Eric Ingberg reports on Bennett's and America's challenge, turning around the devastating and changing drug scene.
Today's naming of a federal general for the drug war didn't change anything for the troops in the field, like Sergeant Jim Durkin of the Union County, New Jersey Narcotics Strike Force. This morning, in the dingy hallways far from Washington, where the battle is joined, it was just one more door to flatten, one more bust, one more day of throwing up small dams in the path of a river of cocaine flowing into the nation's cities.
This is approximately maybe 3 ounces. So that's in the first 2 minutes during the execution of the search warrant.
William Bennett takes command of the federal drug battle at a time when this war is splitting into 2 fronts, one for the rich, one for the poor, a shift that will make government decision-making even tougher. Recent surveys show that in affluent America, cocaine, which started with the rich and the hip, is losing its appeal among the young. Movies and books which glamorize the drug culture, like Bright Lights, Big City, no longer mirror the mood of middle-class teens and young adults who have had to face the deaths of sports heroes and classmates. The dangerous smokable cocaine, crack, has not made the large-scale breakthrough into suburbia that was feared.
This is 800 cocaine. You're 25 years old?
Since you're a minor,
okay, and you're using cocaine?
And calls coming into cocaine hotlines show a drop in this drug's use by every type of user except those who are poor and uneducated.
The typical user today is a person who is poor, younger, unemployed, and in many cases has not finished high school.
Some analysts believe dealers are cutting the price of cocaine to attract poor customers as the drug loses popularity in the suburbs. Cocaine in its most addictive form, the drug crack, is now pervasive in the nation's inner cities. And experts say that Just Say No type drug education efforts have failed miserably here. Officials expect violent crime to increase in the cities as drug gangs fight for turf and as drug addicts become mentally twisted by the paranoia crack is known to cause.
If you think you are one mean guy and at the same time you think everybody's picking on you, you have a very dangerous, violent person.
One big political challenge for Bennett and other policymakers, convincing those who live in the well-tended neighborhoods of suburbia to keep paying for expensive programs to save the young in the inner cities. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Elizabeth, New Jersey.
As retired Admiral James Watkins was named Energy Secretary and the man in charge of trying to clean up and replace aging U.S. nuclear defense plants, there was new word today on the billions of dollars and decades it may take to do the job. CBS News Defense Department correspondent David Martin reports on the problem that has developed from bungling, mismanagement, and neglect.
Department of Energy officials are so concerned about cracks in the piping of the Savannah River reactors, they are considering replacing it all. That would mean an additional delay of several months before restarting the reactors that produce tritium, a key component of this country's nuclear weapons. And that's just one of the problems facing James Watkins.
And our problems aren't just at one facility or another. You've got reactors that have gone 30 years that were designed to go 25, and it'll take you 10 to build a new one. So our existing facilities have got to go for 10 years.
As if to emphasize the massive rebuilding job Watkins faces, the Department of Energy today released its blueprint for modernizing the nuclear weapons complex over the next 20 years. Total cost of modernization, $81 billion. And that doesn't count another $50 to $90 billion needed for environmental cleanup.
Irrespective of what happens at these plants, when shut down or partial continued use or whatever, that they will not be left in the lurch. Clean up there must be, clean up there will be. You can take that one straight to the bank.
Some environmental groups are worried that Watkins, a former chief of naval operations, won't see it that way.
And given that military background, we're worried that protection of the millions of people who live around the nuclear weapons plants will take a back seat to nuclear weapons production.
But one congressman thinks Watkins' military background is a plus.
I think the fact that Admiral Watkins comes out of that experience in the nuclear Navy, is familiar with the issues, has a personal background in nuclear safety, is a very healthy sign.
Watkins' toughest task may be to reestablish the credibility of the Department of Energy, which until recently has deliberately misled the public about the environmental hazards posed by the nuclear weapons complex. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
And still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Barry Peterson on a miracle survival after 5 weeks in the rubble of Armenia. And Bob Faw on a legal battle that's defacing the tradition of the Yankees.
As the company that gave the world the first full line of four-wheel drive cars, Subaru's performance on hills is well known. What may not be so well known is that of all the Subarus registered since 1978, an astonishing 92% are still on the road, which could mean a Subaru will still be good on a hill when other cars are over it.
Why do you care what I eat for breakfast?
Maybe we shouldn't discuss this while you're under the influence of sugar and preservatives.
And what should I be influenced by? Nuts and twigs?
Kellogg's Nutri-Grain cereal with no sugar added and no preservatives.
This is much better than I thought.
Yeah, kind of like me.
Dedicated to the ones we love.
Now, try the deliciously different taste of Nutri-Grain biscuits, the only shredded wheat with no preservatives.
Gas pain, bloating. Gas-X has the strongest, fastest relief ingredient. Painful gas is like beer bubbles. Add the leading antacid. Add Gas-X. Only Gas-X gets rid of the gas. The strongest, fastest reliever for gas pain and bloating. Gas-X.
The truth is, heart specialists concerned about aspirin irritation recommend Ecotrin over Bayer to help prevent second heart attack. Consult your doctor about the only brand of aspirin that's safety-coated to protect your stomach. That's Ecotrin, and that's the truth.
The Soviet Union officially gave up searching weeks ago for survivors in the Armenian earthquake, but today 6 people amazingly emerged from the rubble. They lived for 5 weeks trapped in the basement of a ruined apartment house in Leninikon. Barry Peterson in Moscow tells the story.
For Kara Zakopyan, it was a 35-day journey through hell with never a moment's doubt, he said, of rescue. His ordeal began on December 7th when he and 5 other men went to the basement of a 9-story building to begin moving dishes. Then the earthquake struck. The building collapsed. He and the others at first thought it was war. They found themselves trapped in the basement. There was a lot of canned food, he said, tomatoes, jam, apples. Akopyan, trained in folk medicine, gave massages to help the injured. Families kept vigil outside collapsed buildings, but because of the cold, rescuers soon gave up hope of finding survivors and started bulldozing to clear away debris. Indeed, just last week, damaged apartment buildings were blown into rubble. But despite all this activity, the tiny chamber where the men were trapped remained untouched. Akopyan and the 5 others waited. The Soviets have yet to explain how the men were located and finally rescued. It's all in the past, he said tonight. Everything's fine now. And from his bed, he offered an incredible understatement. Maybe, he said, I was just born lucky. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Moscow.
Mikhail Gorbachev moved again today to try to strengthen the nation's political control over Christian heritage Armenia and Muslim heritage Azerbaijan. The Soviet Presidium imposed what it called a special form of administration on the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh, focus of a year-long struggle between those 2 Soviet republics. The official announcement gave no details. It said a decree would be published soon. There's a new uprising tonight on the Israeli-occupied West Bank. This time the protesters are Jewish settlers challenging their own Israeli government and army. Correspondent Bob Simon is on the scene.
Like so much else on the West Bank, it started with stones. Israeli settlers gathered stones to build an angry monument to a taxi driver who was killed on the West Bank last week. The army said, no monument with no permission, and there is no permission. The settlers called a strike, imitating Palestinian tactics, closing down schools and shops and taking to the roads.
We came here simply to demonstrate peacefully that we don't believe the government is doing what it should be doing to put down the violence against us.
Get tough was the message to the army, so the army responded by getting tough with the settlers, dispersing their demonstrations while Palestinians enjoyed the spectacle of Israeli military wrath being vented for once in a different direction.
The Arabs, they throw stones and we go to the grave. It's unbelievable in the Jewish state that they celebrate and we mourn. Unbelievable.
When Prime Minister Shamir tried to address a memorial service for other Israelis who were killed, he was shouted down by settlers who had been his most ardent supporters. Shamir is due to come out with his long-awaited peace plan in a week or 2. The West Bank settlers are getting ready to oppose it in case it goes too far. Just in case Shamir declares so much as a distant and hypothetical willingness to exchange land for peace, their land. In the biblical town of Hebron today, soldiers opened fire on Palestinian stone throwers, sending 3 to the hospital with gunshot wounds. In Jerusalem, 500 police imposed a curfew on a rebellious neighborhood. And in a Jerusalem hospital, a 17-year-old Palestinian boy shot in the head yesterday died today. They've become routine by now, the curfews and the killings. What received far more attention today was the apparently undramatic, fairly non-violent opening of a new front on the West Bank, a confrontation between soldier and settler, Jew against Jew. Bob Simon, CBS News on the West Bank.
The making of freeze-dried Taster's Choice coffee. Search the world for the finest coffee beans. Grind them. And at the peak of freshness, brew the richest, most aromatic coffee you can brew. Then freeze it. Freeze-drying locks in the fresh brewed aroma and flavor until you release it. For a truly superior cup of coffee, the choice for taste is Taster's Choice.
Taste it.
June Allison for Depend.
Enjoying life is so much easier when you have the best bladder control protection. New Depend undergarments has special layers of absorbency that won't bunch or sag, and elastic legs for a better fit. It's simply the best protection you can get. More people trust Depend, and you can too. Get back into life.
Get back into life with Depend.
Along with the fiber, are you getting something extra in your high-fiber cereal? All of these cereals contain sodium and added sugar. Fiber One, however, is low in sodium and has absolutely no added sugar. And you get more fiber in Fiber One. So get more of the fiber your body needs and less of the stuff it doesn't. Get Fiber One.
Libya's UN ambassador admitted for the first time today that West German companies did help build a chemical plant in Libya. But the ambassador, interviewed by Faith Daniels on CBS this morning, insisted the plant was designed to produce medicine. The United States has charged it is actually a chemical weapons factory. In New Jersey today, U.S. agents arrested a man who they say was plotting to smuggle U.S. nerve gas and missiles to foreign countries. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver is covering that story.
U.S. Customs agents in Newark, New Jersey today arrested a Korean-American businessman they say was involved in a mysterious conspiracy to smuggle 500 500-pound nerve gas bombs out of the U.S. Customs said that during negotiations with undercover agents posing as illegal arms dealers, J.W. Yun refused to disclose where the gas would be shipped, saying only that he and his British partner were prepared to offer $5 million for huge quantities of the lethal gas known as sarin that is made and kept only by the Defense Department.
It is a toxic agent which generally works very quickly, perhaps as quickly as 1 to 2 minutes.
Agents immediately served search warrants on Chun's residence and business, hoping to find out more about who wanted such a dangerous chemical. The Justice Department says there is one possibility, the government of Iran. Yun did say that Iran was the client behind another arms purchase he tried to make of TOW and Stinger missiles.
Sources familiar with the investigation say there is also suspicion, but no evidence, that Yun and his partner were trying to procure nerve gas for Libya.
Offenses of this sort that involve the export of any kind of weapon, let alone highly lethal nerve gas or chemical agents, are of the utmost concern.
Yun is now in federal custody in New York.
Did you do it? Yun? No.
Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
The Libyan government said today it will return the body of an American pilot killed in the 1986 U.S. raid against Libya. The official Libyan news agency said the body will be turned over to a Vatican representative tomorrow.
Oh no, not you again. Mom, coming!
New Sanaflush Stick Liquid Bowl Cleaner sprays up to disinfect hard-to-reach places. It's thicker to cling longer, clean stains harder than ever. Sanaflush takes the beast out of your bowl.
Reach past Kellogg's and Post for the best-tasting Raisin Bran, Raisin Nut Bran. It's got juicy raisins rolled in crushed almonds.
Reach for the stripes, come on! Reach for the stripes and get the best taste, Raisin Nut Bran.
Do you love shrimp? Red Lobster's got it. Lots of shrimp at a great price. Don't miss it. The Shrimp Spectacular Platter, just $7.95. Shrimp 4 different ways, all on one plate. Crispy fried, spicy Cajun popcorn, zesty lemon pepper, and presenting our delicious new grilled shrimp. That's the Shrimp Spectacular Platter, just $7.95. Kids Shrimp, $1.95. But hurry, or you'll miss it at Red Lobster. And for all your football parties, call for Party Platters to go, ready in just 1 hour.
The first time I see a prospective customer, I ask them to write down the name of their long-distance company's sales rep. Most of them can't. Then they realize they've never met one. Now, I can go on about MCI's superior technology and quality and how much better our billing system is. But in my view, none of that means beans if we don't care enough to sit down with you and show you.
Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be. MCI. Let us show you.
To some, not all, to some sports fans, New York Yankee owner George Steinbrenner is the perfect villain, arrogant and uncaring. Right now, he is at war with one of his star players, one of the biggest names in baseball, and a man widely admired for his work with charity. But, surprise, this may be a story without heroes. Bob Fall reports.
In the beginning, when George Steinbrenner signed Dave Winfield for an unheard of 10 years and nearly $20 million, everything was sweetness and light.
I think Dave Winfield's the type of young man that's going to do everything asked of him. I really do.
But the newlyweds started to bicker. The bullying boss fans love to hate suggested Winfield choked up. The all-star slugging outfielder suggested Steinbrenner was a loudmouth. Now the feud has gotten so nasty they've dragged one another into court for the third time, each accusing the other of failing to make payments to a charitable foundation.
This is a serious matter in our view.
Winfield Foundation, may I help you?
If Steinbrenner's charges are true, the charitable foundation that Winfield set up to help kids in New York has done little more than help Dave Winfield feather his own nest.
You can be what you wanna be.
Instead of making more tapes like this or conducting clinics like this, the Yankee owner says Winfield loaded family members and cronies on the foundation payroll, shipped them off to a plush Florida hotel for business meetings that lasted 2 weeks, even charged the foundation $40,000 for limousines.
A very small percentage of this money is in fact going where it's intended to go.
Much of the information against Winfield originated from this one-time gambler who says Winfield loaned him $15,000 and demanded $18,500 back within 2 weeks.
He wrung his hands as if to imply to choke someone.
You interpreted that as a threat?
Oh, well, topped off with, if you don't pay me, I'm going to kill you, it was pretty clear.
Winfield's lawyer says Spira, quote, crawled out from under a rock, and he denies any hanky-panky.
The real motivation behind all of this is to have Mr. Steinbrenner get Dave off the New York Yankees baseball team.
As for New York's long-suffering Yankee fans, most of them are saying enough already.
I'm really kind of sick of it, really.
Controversy, that's it.
Makes more people want to root for the Mets now.
Want more? Winfield says he still wants to play on Steinbrenner's team, and Steinbrenner says he has no intention of trading the player. And you wondered why they called it the Bronx Zoo. Bob Fall, CBS News, New York.
California officials today reopened the Ontario, California airport, which was closed overnight after fierce winds shredded a 14,000-pound advertising blimp, identified as the nation's largest. The 100-mile-an-hour Santa Ana winds kicked up dust storms that reduced visibility to about zero on highways in San Bernardino County, west of Los Angeles. The winds so powerful they overturned trucks and rigs, also cut off power to thousands of Southern Californians. Freezing rain coated much of the Northeast today, and a sudden lunch-hour ice storm glazed the Boston area, turning streets into bumper car rides. And in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, the rain froze in a quarter-of-an-inch surface, which was perfect for cross-country skiing, but it wasn't ideal for drivers unless they were seeking thrills.
To get some Z's.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Nitol helps you feel drowsy so you can get your Z's.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Introducing Total Raisin Bran. Other raisin brands have only 1/4 as much vitamin nutrition. And eating a raisin bran with only 1/4 the vitamin nutrition you could get is like having Mount Rushmore.
Hey.
With only one president. New Total Raisin Bran is the only raisin bran with 100% of 11 vitamins and minerals. Total Nutrition has finally come to Raisin Bran.
I don't know.
What's missing in these new special request soups from Campbell's?
I don't know.
Want to guess?
I don't know.
About 1/3 of the salt.
That's what Campbell's soups are. Good.
It's Color Tile's International Design 89 sale. Save up to 40% on the world's newest tile looks. This Mediterranean floor tile, now only $139. This Venetian wall tile, now $229. Imported patterns and florals starting at just 69 cents. And Color Tile's exclusive stone look vinyl tile, only $199. International Design 89 sale. Only through Sunday. And only at Color Tile. Come now and bring the beauty home.
President Reagan's extended leave-taking today included a send-off by the Defense Department. All of the armed services were represented there, so were some of the weapons built under Mr. Reagan's trillion-dollar-plus defense buildup. As part of their extended public and private goodbyes, both President and Nancy Reagan made some revealing remarks recently in a sit-down interview with 60 Minutes correspondent and co-editor Mike Wallace. More of that interview was released today and is included now in Bill Plant's report on the Reagan's long goodbye.
The Pentagon, which has more reason than most to be grateful to this president, said thanks a trillion to Ronald Reagan today in an elaborate ceremony celebrating his military buildup.
Because we remained strong, because we acted when we believed we had to, in the past 8 years, not 1 inch of ground on this earth fell under communist control.
Everywhere Mr. Reagan turns these days, it seems someone is waiting their turn to say goodbye. Yesterday it was his cabinet, which gave him his cabinet room chair and an opportunity to laugh about his attention span in cabinet meetings. And last night, the president said goodbye to the nation. It was a speech that didn't mention some of the more difficult moments of the past 8 years, but Mr. Reagan did address some of those questions in an interview with CBS News correspondent Mike Wallace, which will be broadcast Sunday on 60 Minutes. The president says he is hurt that he is misunderstood by blacks, and says he wonders if black leaders who have criticized him may not be motivated by personal or political gain.
Sometimes I wonder if they really want what they say they want, because some of those leaders are doing very well leading organizations based on keeping alive the feeling that they're victims of prejudice.
You're talking about Jesse Jackson and Ben Hooks?
Well, you name the names, I won't.
As for Oliver North and John Poindexter, Mr. Reagan says he doesn't necessarily feel they're guilty.
Did you never feel let down by Ollie North or John Poindexter or Bill Casey that they were doing things that you simply did not know about, and that had you known about, you might not have approved?
Well, the thing is, Mike, I still don't know the answers to some of the questions that have been raised.
Did you and he, did he feel let down by Ollie North and John Poindexter?
I did. I think that Poindexter should have told Ronnie.
Mr. Reagan has talked a lot in recent days about what happened over the past 8 years. But many of the most difficult questions of the Reagan presidency, hostages, deficits, Iran-Contra, remain unresolved as he leaves office, awaiting the judgment of history. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. We hope you'll stay tuned now for 48 Hours in High School, coming up soon tonight at 7 Central Time. See you then.
High school, the best of times, the worst of times, where America's kids get a lesson in life. 48 Hours tonight.
This is CBS.
I'm Chris Clark, and coming up next on Eyewitness News, a former Nashville preacher sentenced to die for a gruesome crime may not face the death penalty after all. Governor Ned McWhorter outlines his plans for the future, including a new way to stop drug traffic in the state. An explosion and fire rips through a Cookeville business, forcing evacuation of others nearby, and there were wedding bells at the international airport today. Story coming up next on Eyewitness News. Join us.